On this week's Fast Car to NASCAR, Mike Wallace and Jeff Kent talk with veteran crew chief and former NASCAR VP of competition, Robin Pemberton, about his early years as a crew chief for some of the sport's prominent teams.
We just said under break, we got 45 years of racing to compact into 44 minutes of show. So take it away, Robin. We're at Petty Enterprises now. What goes on from
You can't even come
Petty?
up for air. Just go.
All right, so Petty Enterprises. So that was from 79. I think I got there March, right after the 500 in 79. And I was there through 83. 83 was the last year. Finished up that season. And the last year there, we were, Dale Inman had gone. He was at over at Hagen's at Terry Labonte's. And so my good friend Larry Pollard and I shared the crew chief duties for Richard Petty in that 83 year. And, we did okay, won a couple races and, things were kind of changing over there. The landscape was changing. I think Kyle was getting ready to potentially take over the business and the King had some stuff going on or wanted some stuff going on. And that's when the time frame was that he left Petty Enterprises and went to the Curb 43, right? They took the 43 and Mike Curb and Buddy Parrott and all of that. But the background of that story is in the fall of 83, some of this, he was still hunting around and I was going to go to work for Ray Mock, Butch Mock and Bob Rahilly. And the King and I were talking one day about what was going on and this, that, and the other. And he made mention that, his deal may not be done yet and didn't know if any guys over there would be interested in a driver, right? Or a different driver. So I floated it to my buddies and they were, after they picked themselves up off the floor that the King might drive their stuff, They put a deal together. It didn't last over the off season, but we went and tested Daytona and some other stuff and potential. It was a potential, but it didn't work through. And the King went on his way to Curb and another team. So that was for 84, 85. Went to work at Dygaard. Was Bobby Allison's crew chief. Robert Yates was over there doing the engines. Gary Nelson was going on to do R&D and trying to spin off and do another team. And so...
Hey, Robin, what was unique about Dygaard? And the reason I say that, we lived back in St. Louis when the Dygaard team was running, and it seemed like there was something, I don't know, infamous, or there's something cool about that Dygaard team. What was it? I mean, because I don't know if it was or wasn't, but it seemed like it was.
It was cool, but you had, Robert Yates was there. That's cool enough for anybody, right?
Right.
Your engines, but Bobby was there. You had Miller Brewing Company was there. But we wound up getting into some turmoil. We had R&D stuff. Greg Sachs won the 4th of July race. And whatever 80, 85. You know what I mean? Kind of put things. Got a lot of tension in there. Willie T. Ribbs drove.
So when Greg Sachs won, that was in a Dygaard car? I remember him winning.
Yes,
I just
it
didn't know
was.
that. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was in a Dygaard car. And, we were running good with Bobby, but we broke a cylinder head during the race, but we're running good. And then after that, Bobby, I think he left after the 4th of July race and we wound up, Willie T. Ribbs was on deck, to do some stuff. And I'll tell you what, Willie T. could drive. I think anybody that's seen him or anything, he was a good talent. I don't think we had the best equipment for him at the time, but he was pretty damn good,
Well, that's good to hear
And
because
so-
there's been a lot of there was some talk, Jeff. Willie T. Ribbs was involved in the SRX series last year, that Everham
Yeah.
Oh, is that
Stewart
right?
deal.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people going, well, what did he ever do? And it's like, I know he's a
Oh, my God,
Trans Am
yeah.
racer, but here Robin's telling us how good he
He's
was.
a great driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He was pretty good. I mean, he ran Indy 500 and stuff like that. I mean, he drove for Jack. Jack told me one time, he's like, if you throw 1,000 pounds of marbles out in the middle of the corner. He said, in the United States, he said, at the time, he said, Willie T. Ribbs and Robbie Gordon would be the only ones to get through that. He's like, they're the best car control he's ever seen.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a big compliment.
Yeah. Robbie was at Jack's doing road race stuff. When we were trying to start up Jack's deal back in the late '80s. So.
Okay, so you went from Dygard.
Anyways,
you're at Dygard. You guys, Greg Saxon won. Little turmoil in the team.
Yeah, and then that thing. So I had a 10-year contract that lasted 16 months. So,
you know what's really weird about this, Robin? Jeff Kent and I have both had those same contracts.
Yeah.
And when we started this show together, we're sitting talking about the concept of it and just what we're going to do, and we both looked at each other and realized we both had a nice career, but we've been through those challenging moments.
And I don't know how those NASCAR contracts work, but in radio, I mean, it's a contract, but really the most important part of it that protects me, the employee, would have been the severance package. And
the best deals. Handshakes were the best deals.
Yeah. Because they could fire you anytime.
I've had 2 contracts that were 10 years, and neither one of them went over 14 months.
Hey, did they ever use the terminology, Robin? It's nothing personal, man.
It's just business.
Yeah.
It's just business.
All right, we'll jump off of that. But you went from Dygard, and after the Dygard program, where did Robin Pemberton go?
I went back to Butch and Bob. Okay. And we were so Lake Speed comes and talks to me and says, hey, would you like to come over here? I'd like to have you come back over here, because he knew I was kind of thinking over there, the Dygard thing. So I said, okay. So we Butch and I got together and whatever and decided to go back over there. And then when I got there, let's see, in December or something, then Lake was gone. So Lake called me to come over there, and when I got there, the door had.
He had that same 10-year contract.
Yeah. But you know how that goes. Yep. So, anyways, and so that was the year we had a lot of drivers. We had Jody Ridley and Jim Sauter, Morgan Shepherd, Mike Alexander, I think. Yeah, we had our share.
And that team at that time, was that the Raymock team? Or where were you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was Raymock.
All right.
Yep.
It's unique you brought up Butch Mock. I just seen Butch this weekend at a Trans Am race at Charlotte. His son was racing Trans Am car.
He's doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing good. Yep.
So
that was Raymock.
Okay.
So a funny thing happened. So we were working a lot of hours, and had one new baby that was there, and so we were getting kind of stressed out, working hard all summer long, and so I'm off mowing the yard on a Saturday in Matthews where I lived, and told Lisa, I said, I don't care if the phone rings for me, I'm not here, right? So she goes, I'm out mowing the yard. It's about an acre of land, and I'm doing it with about a 24-inch push mower, and you know what I mean, just because. And so she calls and said, hey, phone. I said, I'm not answering the phone. And I wasn't that nice when I said it to her. And she goes back in, and then I'm making another pass. She's like, no, this guy says he wants to talk to you. And I said, no, I'm not. And she goes in, comes back out. He's a friend of Paul Giltman. And Paul was one of the Ford engineers that had worked with myself and Gary and a few others along the way. Really good chassis guy. And he said his name's Jack Roush.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not sure I turned the mower off, but I went inside and turned and took the call, and we talked a little bit, and he wanted to come meet, and he's going to start a team, and this is like in June or July, probably July of that year of 87. And so anyway, so things go on, and he wants to put a meeting together, and so he puts a meeting together, meet him in Greensboro. So I met him up in Greensboro. Well, hell, I walk in the damn meeting room at the Holiday Inn near the airport, and there sits Steve Meal, of all things. So Jack didn't know Steve and I knew each other, and he was just making some phone calls. And so the long and the short of it is he winds up hiring us both to start the team. And we started it in Liberty. So, I mean, we just, we're going to run a partial schedule and all of that stuff. So that was to get up and running for the 88 season. And so, about the second, third week of August, I left to go help Steve, left Butch and Bob to go help Steve start that.
So when you went for that Roush meeting, you did not know Steve Meal was going to be in that meeting also?
No. Wow,
that's kind of cool, actually.
It's amazing how everything comes full circle.
Yeah, poor Jack didn't know he was walking in to get ambushed. He was it was 2-on-1 right off the bat. But anyways, it was a good meeting. I mean, I think he felt good that he's already, if he wanted to do it, he had two people that. That obviously they were recommended by some different folks, or else he wouldn't have invited us to the same meeting. So, anyways.
Gotcha. So
yeah, it was good.
You guys started Roush Racing then, as we know Roush Racing. And who was Mark? I just remember Mark. Was he the first driver of that team?
Yep. Mark was the first driver.
Okay.
I think they had interviewed a few different people, but, Mark for the most part, I think was probably the first choice, So, anyways, and that, I stayed there till 80, 90, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 91. I finished up at the 91 season.
Great. What was that like to start a race team? What's?
Oh my God.
I mean,
it really wasn't bad because you were starting a team early enough. What we thought to run a part-time schedule.
Mm-hmm.
We're there working on the cars in Liberty, North Carolina. I don't know. Remember when they used to do the media tour? Was it in December or January or something like that? Might have been December.
Yep.
And so they would go to people's shops or something like that. So they're in one side of the shop doing their, media stuff with Jack and Jeff Smith and Mark, and we're all in the other side working on cars because, we built the shop basically. It was an empty building that didn't even had plumbing in it for bathrooms when we started, So we're in there building cars, and we're listening kind of through the big door in between the two buildings, and we hear Jeff Smith say he'd like to announce the fact that we're going to run the full schedule. I got up out of the trunk of the Thunderbird and bumped my head and was like, we have two cars. One was for Daytona, and one was the Rockingham car that was Daytona spare, and maybe something for Richmond. We hadn't even started yet. And then announced we're going to run all the races. It was like, oh my God. So, anyways,
what's funny about that, Robin, is we had Mark Martin on.
No, there's nothing funny about that. Even now, there's nothing funny about that.
Okay, let me terminate that. What was coincidental about what you just said is we had Mark on as our third guest when Jeff and I started the show. And Mark told the exact same story you just said, almost verbatim.
Oh, God. It was something.
To hear the entire show, visit speedsport.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast.